You'd think that when you use a tripod to photograph landscape photography that you're pretty much guaranteed to get sharp focus, that your photos won't be blurry. But trust me from experience, that's not always the case, and this is a perfect example to illustrate what I mean. So this was a photo that I took in Bandon, Oregon on the coast, and I was using a tripod. And not only was I using a tripod, but my tripod had spiked feet on them. And in case you don't know, spiked feet are exactly what they sound like. They're these giant metal spikes that sit on the bottom of each tripod leg. And they're great for these kind of coastal shoots where you're photographing in sand with moving water. I had my tripod jammed straight into the sand. And as you can see, I was standing in the water, so the ocean waves were kind of rushing over the tripod legs and my feet. And let's bring up the info for this photo. To get this kind of movement, I set my shutter speed at zero point 0.6 seconds. That's something that I do quite often. I took this photo back in 2013 when I was a Canon shooter using the 5D Mark III, and I was using a 24 to 105 millimeter f4 lens. So at f16, at just over half a second, I was able to get this really great motion in the waves because they were constantly moving. And I especially liked the formation of the waves, the way they're crashing over here. But even though I was using a tripod, and even though the tripod was really secured with the sand, the movement of the water still created this out of focus negative result. And you would think that there is no way to recover this, but I've got some really fun stuff to show you here. But before I do, let's just jump in to develop. Let's close our info view. Let me show you what the original photo looked like. So all I did was fix the orientation just a bit to rotate it because I was slightly off. And I just kind of brought out some of the color in the sky as well as detail in the foreground. Now, I didn't use any sharpening here to try to correct it. We'll take a look at that in a second. I also didn't add any texture or clarity to the photo. So here's the thing with trying to use Lightroom to correct for this. Let's zoom in here on this haystack rock and let's start using clarity. Maybe we can bring out some detail, and that's just looking really bad. We don't like that. Same thing with texture. You'd think maybe if we add texture, that would bring some of that detail, but that doesn't work. And then finally, we'll go to sharpening and bring that up. And that's not doing anything. That's just making the image crispy and worse. So let's not use that. Instead, what I will do is send this photo to Sharpen AI to see if we can recover this, which seemingly is not recoverable just because the focus was missed so badly due to the moving, crashing waves of the ocean. But let's see. Let's right click. We'll go to Edit In and then go to Topaz Sharpen AI. And then I'm going to work off of a JPEG for the purposes of this video, and we'll click Edit to move on. And so now that we're in Sharpen AI, the first thing I want to do is change my view to the comparison view. And I'm also going to change my zoom to 100% just so that I can fill each of these quadrants with the haystack rock. Now, between the three different AI models, I think motion blur has the most potential. But before I just commit it, I want to try these other modes. So let's click on very noisy and very blurry. And you can see just by comparing the original and the model with motion blur applied, just the improvement, especially on the edge details. And if we move our focus box over here, you can see all of that detail restored. Now, before I want to commit these changes, I want to see what the impact of the processing has on the entire photo. So I'm going to change my view to single view and change my zoom to fit. And I'm glad I did because as you can see, while we did recover detail in the rocks in the background here, we did also over sharpen the waves. And I just don't like the way that looks. If you press and hold on the image, you'll see the original. And that's actually the look that I want in the water. I just want to get the detail back in the rock. So if I let go, you can see that all of that edge detail is restored. Fortunately, there's a really easy way to control where the Sharpen AI processing will apply to your photo, and that's by using the in-app masking. To access that, just click on this icon right here on the bottom. By default, the mask will apply to the entire image, so you'll have to paint in the areas that you want sharpening to apply to. First thing I'm going to do is check this edge aware just to have a little bit of a cleaner brush stroke, and I'll also select the overlay so I can see where my mask is being applied. Next, I'm going to increase my brush size a bit and reduce the feather. Then I'm just going to start drawing my mask. I just kind of want to keep it on the rock. Then I'm going to paint on this rock here. Let me increase my brush size a bit. And I'll paint over here in the background. Now to see the effect of the mask, I'm going to disable the overlay and I'll zoom in to 100%. And that looks a lot better. So if I go ahead to zoom to fit again, you can see that the rocks are sharp, but we aren't over sharpening the waves. And now that I'm happy with the mask, I'm just going to click apply mask to go back. You can see if I click, Sharpen AI is only processing the area that we masked in. So just toggling, you can see how focus and sharpness and edge detail are snapping back to those rocks, which is pretty awesome. Now that I'm done, I'll click apply to return back to Lightroom. And you can see here on the left, this is our original photo. And on the right is the photo processed with Sharpen AI. If we zoom in, you can see all that really nice detail that was restored. I mean, just comparing the two, it's pretty amazing. And more importantly, we only applied that sharpening to the areas that we care about. We didn't over sharpen any of the waves. So we still have that really nice motion from the long exposure. And so this is a good reminder. Just because you're using a tripod, depending on the environment that you're using it in, doesn't mean that you're going to get tack sharp photos. Unfortunately, Sharpen AI is up to the task to help you recover that missed focus.